Das Wasser hat ein Gedächtnis.
Water has a memory.
Und das Wasser hat so Intelligenz viel mehr wie die Luft, nicht?
Water is intelligent, much more so than air.
Das Wasser es ist eine kosmische Sache.
Water is a cosmic thing.
Water fascinates him. He observes it, listens to it, talks to it, and learns from it. Water is Johann Grander's element. He's known far beyond the boundaries of his native Tirol as the discoverer of revitalized water. He's not an esoteric, he believes in physics, not in the textbook variety, but in his own unique form. He changes water, and the water he changes is able to transfer its positive power to other water. How he revitalizes water is his secret, but otherwise he's willing to discuss almost anything.
The short time that we have here is an apprenticeship, and all of us are really apprentices. No matter how many academic titles you have, you're still just an apprentice.
During his apprenticeship here on Earth, Johann Grander has discovered something that even ultra-modern industry is grateful for, because it saves large amounts of chemicals.
In the first tests we ran before Grander had been installed, the water was almost a health hazard. There were millions of coliform bacteria in just 5 milliliters of water. But in the most recent tests, with the Grander device installed, there were no coliform bacteria at all. Beforehand, we had to change the water every 3 months because it had simply gone bad. There were so many bacteria in it that you couldn't stand the smell. Now there are no bacteria in the water, and it was 7 months before we changed the water the first time. The cost has dropped by half. We use fewer chemicals and save money there too. It's simply wonderful.
Wir haben weniger Chemie, wir sparen auch Chemie ein. Im Grund einfach spitze.
2 decades ago, in his search for a suitable source for his revitalized water, Johann Grander found a spring in an abandoned copper mine. It very quickly became clear that there was something very special about the water, and it provided the basis for his future experiments.
Wir haben zweimal Wasser umgekriegt von den Steinwasser.
We took several samples of water from the mine and put it under a microscope, and I could see that it was full of minerals and was gleaming. And the last time you could see the minerals as hundreds of beautiful little crosses, nothing but crosses, and hundreds of them.
Grander's biography is part of a contemporary history. He spent his youth in poverty, and getting an education was impossible. There was no opportunity, and in particular, no money.
I
only had 7 years of schooling, elementary school, you know, because by the time I was 13, I was already driving a tractor and hauling wood for the district authorities.
After the war, a period of reconstruction began. There was work to be done, and young Johann Grander made an acquaintance that was to change his life.
Ja, das war so, ich habe eine Freundin gehabt in Vorarlberg und das war seine Schwester.
The way we met was that I had a friend in Vorarlberg, his sister Kati. I went home with her to Tirol once, and of course I met Hans there. Something clicked between us, and we started spending time together.
Es hat natürlich gleich gefunkt und wir sind beieinander geblieben. War ja ein fescher Bursch und die haben gern mengen nachher.
He was a really good-looking man, and I really liked him, you know, and I guess he liked me too. My future husband was working for a fruit dealer, and he had to set out at 1 in the morning to get to work on his motorcycle. And he didn't have anything warm to wear, so he tucked newspapers into his clothes to keep out the wind. I had to put in a lot of overtime, you know, day and night. I have a monthly pay slip, and I've kept it because it has 420 hours on it. I still have it.
Und im Sommer ist so gewesen, bin ich...
In the summer, I went out and picked blueberries. I brought them home, and he took them to Bad Gastein because that's where we could get the most money for them.
Am meisten gekriegt dafür.
Ja, aber so haben wir dann Heisel da.
And then we built a house, and I must say, the whole family pitched in to help build it, my wife and the children too.
Frau auch, das ist, und die
An honest
Kinder,
family where people help one another, that's a powerful thing.
Familie, was zusammenhilft, das ist was Starkes, gell?
Und haben wir alles selber gemacht.
We did all the work ourselves. I'd say there isn't a stone in the whole house that I haven't held in my own hand.
A welcome visitor to the Granders' home is the well-known singer and former skier Hansi Hinterseer, who lives in neighboring Kitzbühel.
Ja, und das Tag und Nacht, den Satellit, auf einen Zentimeter, was und
What they talk about? Everything under the sun.
da der Leit's nicht.
Also ich bin begeistert vom Hans, wie die Sache angeht, wenn man mit ihm reden kann.
Being with Hans fills me with enthusiasm, just the way he goes about things and the way you can discuss it with him. It's just really good to sit down with him. It makes you feel good, it calms you. What he has to say all makes such good sense. And his belief in God means a lot to me too. You don't forget it.
Das soll man auch nicht vergessen.
The former skiing star is not the only athlete to use Grander technology. Current athletes like the world champions in trick cycling, Michael and Heiko Rauch, as well as their therapist Bernd Laudenbach, do too.
Mostly the people who come here are competitive sportsmen who want to return to training for competition as soon as possible after they've been injured. I use Grander technology to shorten recovery time. With the help of Grander technology, which is a very important part of my therapy, I can cut recovery time by at least half. For example, 2 weeks ago, my brother was having trouble with his back again, and Bernd treated Heiko with this device here. After the first treatment, the trouble was gone, and we could start training again immediately. I've purchased several types of therapy methods or equipment where, after you've used them for a short time, you more or less abandon them because you realize they don't work at all. But with Grander, and this is the honest truth, it's just the opposite. The entire product range he offers, well, it borders on the miraculous, especially in the field of physical therapy where I use it. But if you understand miracles, what a miracle really is, then you realize that it is simply nature in flow. In that sense, all Grander did was to copy nature and give it back to us.
Nature is the model, but it still hides a lot more secrets than it reveals. Grander's youngest son, Heribert, grew up in his father's workshop.
There was a thing with the magnet. My father took a magnet and used it to pick up a stack of steel washers. He just kept adding one after another and picking up the stack. And we told our teacher at school about it, and he said, "But that's impossible, because magnets lose their power over time." And my father said, "If you let the magnet do its work, it gets even stronger. The power of the magnet gets stronger. It only gets weaker if you keep it in a wooden box." I mean, I learned that from the time I was a child, and when they told us something else in school, I raised my hand, of course, and said, "But that's not right. My father told me something different." And I really got into trouble, and the teacher gave me a bad grade.
Grander's director of engineering, Hannes Larch, came across a particularly puzzling physical phenomenon.
The interesting thing was that both cartridges were built absolutely the same and as part of a series. And when you set them vibrating, every cartridge had exactly the same sound. And the phenomenal thing about the device is that because the cartridges were filled with different water, which had different information properties, the cartridges now sound different. We're going to demonstrate that now. I think you can clearly hear that there is a difference in the vibration, a difference in the sound. Just how the tonal difference comes about remains a mystery to us. It's phenomenal.